Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Jon Fitch, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's been a few years since we talked. In fact, last time we spoke, you were just getting ready to fight Yushin Okami at World Series of Fighting 24. Now you're getting ready to face Paul Daley at Bellator 199. But before we get into that, I want to get a little background on what happened with you leaving World Series / Professional Fighting League / whatever they're called these days.
It just, I was dissatisfied with them not sticking to the contract. I was supposed to, have guarantees in my contracts about numbers of fights in a year and time in between fights, and that was, unsatisfactory for me to be waiting around. And then I also felt that, I had beaten everybody of significance in the organization, and there was just, greener pastures in Bellator. So I asked them to either, pay me the money owed for the fights that I didn't get or to release me, and they chose to release me. And that freed me up to, it was a bit of a risk, but I figured that I'd find a place at Bellator, and I did. So, everything worked out.
You're coming in a very strong position because, as you said, you beat everybody there was to beat. You became the world champion there. You won 4 straight fights, and now you're coming in really strong for this fight with Paul Daley. So how are you feeling about this matchup?
I feel great about the matchup. Paul Daley comes to fight hard. He brings it. And I do best when guys bring the fight to me.
Do you find it at all ironic that you both spent some time in UFC and yet never crossed paths and had a fight with each other while you were both there?
No, but I don't know. There was a lot of fights that I think I should have had or could have had in the UFC, but they never put them together. I don't know why. Some of it could have been, Joseph always said that I was one of the hardest guys to match up. No one ever wanted to fight me. People were always hurt or they wanted somebody else. So, it could be a reason why I didn't get a fight a lot of guys.
So is that something then that's refreshing for you about Bellator, is that nobody is ducking you, nobody's being protected, everybody's going to fight you at some point?
I think, I've been around long enough to build a name up for myself. And I think a lot of guys see me as old, so they think I'm a little bit softer target now, which is a big mistake.
I wouldn't say you're old. I've seen plenty of fighters fighting much older, and you're still young in body and spirit, so I don't think age is a number here.
That's true. It's not so much the age, it's the number of years put in, I think. Not too many guys fight 16 years. Josh Thompson's got me beat. He's got 20 years in, so I know I'm still not that old.
Well, the funny thing about Paul Daley is he's not terribly old himself at 35, but yet he has had an astounding 57 MMA fights. That doesn't even include his kickboxing fights, so veteran experience on both sides of the equation here.
Yeah, you got two guys who definitely know how to fight, and I think it's gonna turn into a great night.
Well, you faced some of the hardest hitters in the history of this sport. How do you think Paul Daley compares to some of those other knockout artists?
Man, he's definitely got power. He's got long arms. But he doesn't have a lot of other threats, and his grappling defense isn't great, and he doesn't have a granite chin really anymore either. So if you can sneak in some clean shots on him, you can hurt him. But he comes to fight, and I respect what he does. But I think I've got him outclassed as a fighter.
With the strategy with Daley, then, since he's got a little more vulnerable chin than he used to have, and sometimes that muscular frame of his doesn't hold cardio very well, would it be drag him into the deep waters here?
That's generally what I do with everybody. That's what I try to do, see if they can sink or swim. But, I think it's a good strategy to get in his face and put some little Big Ten wrestling on him.
Hey, you'll get no argument from me. I grew up in Big Ten country, so by all means do that to him. But let's also talk about what it means for contendership, because he's been up near the top in the welterweight division in Bellator for a while. You're coming in, so does this vault you up to maybe next or second to next in line for Rory McDonald with a win?
I think if I have a really good performance, it does. I'm coming off a little bit of a layoff, and I want to make sure that I'm ready for that too, because jumping from a 3-round fight to a 5-round fight, the training is different, and I want to make sure that I'm ready to make a step up, and my performance next Saturday will be a big indicator of that for me.
But you mentioned the layoff, and obviously that goes back to not getting as many fights as you wanted from the previous organization. But did you stay in the gym that whole time, or did you actually take time off and just relax?
No, yeah, I was in the gym quite a bit because they kept giving us soft dates on when we were supposed to be starting their tournament, and I was under the impression it was going to start, like pretty close to January 1st. So three months out from January 1st, I was getting ready for fights. So I've been tentatively training, grappling, and light sparring, and lifting weights, staying in shape, staying toned, and so I haven't broke my diet really for more than a few cheat meals for the last couple of years.
So really, it's just like the longest training camp ever for a fight.
Well, I've turned a lot of my workouts in things, especially like lifting and my diet. I like to refer to my lifting as part of my hygiene now. So I like to lift just like I like to brush my teeth, So I make sure every day I'm doing some kind of strength or resistance training. And I think that's just good for everybody. As you age, you need to stay on the strength and resistance training. That's the best thing for your health and best thing for your body as far as body composition goes.
But obviously, though, the cardio is still going to be strong, because one thing I've seen over many, many fights of yours in the years is that guys are huffing and puffing in that 3rd round, and you're still out there smiling.
Yeah, I kind of just get warmed up as the fight goes on. I'm just starting to catch my groove.
That's true. In fact, some people used to say that you were a slow starter. Not something that I ever agreed with, but I would say you definitely looked like you were getting into the groove in the 2nd and 3rd rounds of most fights.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was a slow starter. It might be that I had one pace the whole time, and my opponents just faded.
That's true, too. Now, when we talked before, you mentioned cryptocurrency and BitCoin. Is that something that you're still interested into these days?
Oh yeah, I'm not really trading so much. I'm holding or hodl, and watching that price go up and down. It's back up to 9,000. It hit like 19,000 last Christmas. So I'm pretty certain by the end of the summer it'll be back up around 15. But that's a long-term investment. But I'm hoping in the within the next year, I have a project I'm working on. I hope it will come to fruition. But yeah, it's a long way off. It's in the early stages right now.
Does the volatility concern you at all with those wild up-down fluctuations?
No. Considering other currencies and their fluctuations, the over a year, Bitcoin's way, way, way up. Even with the big drops, it still tends to head on the upward mobility.
Do you think Bitcoin is something more fighters should be investing in, something that they should use as like a long-term portfolio for their post-fighting career?
It's still experimental stages right now, but I think everybody, you can afford to put $100 into it. Why not put $100 into it? If it raises 1,000%, you've made quite a profit. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever made. So if you only hold, $100 worth by the time the last Bitcoin is made, that price could be, up to $100,000 a Bitcoin. You could be profiting a decent amount.
That's very true. But what about the blockchain security? Do you think it's really as good as it's purported to be?
Yeah, it hasn't been hacked. It can't be hacked. It's an open ledger. Everybody can watch and see. It's decentralized. I think the threat would come from a huge country mining enough of the Bitcoin to control more than 51% of the mining, and then they could mess with the code a little bit, but that would be very difficult for anybody to do. and everybody would see it coming. So there'd be time to get your money out of the Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is going to be the only cryptocurrency in the future, it's hard to tell. There might be other ones that overtake it. But I think the blockchain technology is definitely the future. Like, a lot of things are going to be put on that blockchain. A lot of things are going to get tokenized. It's going to be interesting the next 10 to 20 years to see what happens with cryptocurrency.
All right. Well, it's definitely something to keep an eye on for investors and for fighters alike. But getting back to fighting,
Mm-hmm. But it's really good because you can write smart contracts on it too. So you can make a lot of deals and a lot of things trustless because you don't need an independent person to watch your money or whatever. It's written in the code.
That's true. You won't need an attorney standing there to verify the handshake and the signature. So definite advantages. But
exactly.
let me get back to fighting before we wrap it up here, because we've had a good little talk about cryptocurrency, but Paul Daley is what's coming up here in San Jose. So how are you feeling about the Shark Tank and the atmosphere you're going to be in there?
I love it, man. I can't wait. San Jose is definitely a fight town. The Bay Area is a fight town. One of the reasons I moved out here from Indiana was because, I wanted to come to AKA, but I also knew that if things didn't work out at AKA, there was like 10 other gyms that I could go to do jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or some kind of kickboxing or boxing, and that was 2002, 2003 when I was looking that stuff up online. So, there wasn't even that much growth and that much around, and it was still a hotbed for martial arts, So, this is definitely a place that has been kind of underutilized, I think, by promoters. Scott Coker's done a great job over the years, but I think the UFC always missed the ball with promoting in San Jose. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's kind of ironic with your long career that I've looked over it up and down, and I've never seen you had a fight there.
No, I fought in Oakland when I fought Thiago Alves the second time.
Yeah, I think that's as close as you've come.
Yeah, and that was a good show. But again, it's it's a little bit more East Bay. It's still a good spot. But I think San Jose's a spot to put sights on.
And you mentioned Scott Coker, so what's it like now getting to work with him, given you've worked with just about every big name in the martial arts promotion business?
So far so good. I'm enjoying working with his staff. He's got a good staff of people around him. He keeps good people with him. Everybody works hard. They do their job right. I don't have any complaints with anybody. It's nice to know that you've got people who know what they're doing and are able to get stuff done the way they're supposed to get it done.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of stress and pressure off you as a fighter when all you got to do is show up.
I feel the same way as a reporter, because when I came to Bellator 198 last weekend, all I had to do was just show up and everything was all set. It's nice to see something run that smoothly.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's kind of hard to get that across unless you've been into chaos and you've seen chaos and had to deal with it. But, it makes things way easier when everything's handled that is supposed to be handled.
Bellator runs things smoothly and professionally, and that includes this interview.
Yep.
So I really appreciate the time today, Jon, and if you'd like to plug anything, please go ahead and get it out.
Well, just check out JonFitch.net. I got all my stuff there. You can find all kinds of good stuff. Find my blog series, Failing Up with Death by Ego. You can find my old Shake Break videos from YouTube on there, some other videos on there, and if you guys, if people have time, they can watch I do a daily live stream during the week at 10 a.m. Left Coast time called the Shake Break. I have my protein shake and I answer questions and talk about different subjects for a half hour, 45 minutes. It's been pretty fun doing it the last couple months. So people can check that out if they want.
All right, everybody check that out, but also check out Bellator 199, Saturday, May 12, 2018, live from the SAP Center, where Jon Fitch will be fighting Paul Daley. Jon, thank you for the time.
All right, man. Thank you.
And thank you, Dan, as well.